Jan is going to be talking about the principles, and you can come over here and take a look at them. And she's going to be sharing about the principles
and everybody should have a handout.
And everybody should have a handout.
As the principal does.
And then Ronnie is going to be sharing some of his experiences and things like that. So, you know, and it really doesn't matter how the DNA Yahtzee fell for the three of us. Today, everybody's African.
Hey.
Jan.
I have rhythm, you mean? Yay!
Woo! Today, everybody has rhythm.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Well, yeah.
Yunzo Saba, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Now, I'm going to invite us to really embody these 7 principles because they are universal. One of the things that Rev Dr Ayleen talked about that was so powerful is that there is a oneness, there is a universality in these principles that we can claim, that just about every holiday around the world, particularly this time of year, recommends that we embrace. So it's perfect that we're going to our roots, which is Africa, to claim and name these principles and embody them into our heart. Now, as a white person, I need to let you know, I call myself a white backup singer for this particular, because I'm sandwiched in between 2 folks that have experienced being African American in America. And I just have to say that, you know, there's a lot of talk about white guilt, or what should we be responsible for, how should we deal with this issue of our ancestors maybe not always doing the right things to our African American brothers and sisters. And what I offer is that we take a nice deep breath and we release the guilt for those of us that are Anglo-American or can be appeared as Anglo-American. Because if you take a look at Mr. David, he's another wonderful mixed, you know, bag of wonderful backgrounds. And, you know, taking a look at some of our other folks in this wonderful church family, we're wonderful mixes, but David and some of our other folks that look African American are going to be treated differently in our culture, aren't they? It's what I call, and I made up this term with Oakland Fire about 10 years ago, automatic white privilege. And what that means is that people are going to look at me, old white woman, you know, and think something different than if they were to look at an American Indian, you know, a Native American person, an African American person, you know, a Pacific Islander, you know, Spanish, exactly, Hispanic. And so they're going to judge me differently out of the gate, aren't they? They're going to make some assumptions about me. And I do have automatic white privilege. I mean, I do. That is a fact in our culture. Okay. However, we do not have to let guilt disable us. But what we can do, my friends, is we can take responsibility for how we act and how we treat each other now. So it's not about guilt, it's about responsibility. And owning that responsibility and saying, you know, my ancestors did some good things, did some maybe not so good things. And so I'm here, you know, to set it right in whatever way I can. And that's where these 7 principles come from. And where do we have to set it right for first? Who do we have to set it right for first?
Ourselves?
Ourselves! Ourselves. How many times have we been racially cruel to ourselves? Think about it. How many times have you judged yourself? How many times have you made the worst judgment about yourself, about your own beautiful soul that is a tapestry of different cultures, religions, backgrounds? I was doing a speaking engagement a long time ago, and it was in front of a group of people that I wasn't very familiar with. And I said, well, I have a little bit of background. I'm kind of Catholic and Jewish. My father was Jewish and my mother was Catholic. And one of the young men in the group said, he goes, oh, you're a cashew. You're a special kind of nut. And I loved it. I said, I'm stealing that. I wish I'd thought it up. But claiming all that we are without judgment enables us to do that for each individual person. Because while we are all one, we all come from the river of life from Africa, we are also very unique, aren't we? And how we express these principles will be our own individual way. And when we find that individual way, what happens?
We're it.
We're it. It makes our light stronger. What did Nelson Mandela tell us? Do not hide your light under a bushel. Let your light shine. It does nobody any service if we allow our light to be dimmed by guilt, by anger, by frustration, by helplessness. Let's let it all go. Because as we claim these principles, which I think are very powerful because they're very specific, very, very specific, that come from the African roots, but they can be very specific for us. So I'm going to invite us to say them. Umoja.
Umoja.
What is that?
Unity.
Let me hear you say it again.
Unity. Unity.
Umoja. Umoja. To strive for and to maintain unity in the family, that's us, in the community, all of the people that we serve, okay, in the nation, and in the race.
That's us. It's all
That's all us, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what did Dr. Ayleen tell us? It is all us. So we are family,
Family.
community,
Community.
nation,
Nation.
race.
Race.
Excellent. And I want you to breathe that one last time in. Umoja.
Umoja.
And take it into your body. Unity. It's at the base of all things. And I would also add to that our beloved Mother Earth. We are one with her. All right, take another nice deep breath. Kuji Jagulia. Now, Kuji Jagulia. Say again. Kuji Jagulia. Kuji Jagulia. Self-determination. You know, when Dr. Ayleen gave me the paper, that one just lit up for me. Because sometimes self-determination is hard. You know, sometimes I get depressed and then I get lazy and I eat bonbons in front of the TV.
Yay!
And
That's what the doctor ordered. Oh, no.
and sometimes you're absolutely right, Reverend Corky. That's exactly what the doctor ordered. But sometimes when I'm using it as a comfort, it's one thing. When I'm using it as an escape, that's another thing. It means I might have lost a little bit of my connection to my inner strength, to my self-determination. To define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. This is huge. To define ourselves.
To define ourselves.
Name ourselves.
Name ourselves.
Create for ourselves.
Create for ourselves.
Speak for ourselves.
Speak for ourselves.
That means we own total determination and responsibility for our life path. We don't try to blame it on somebody else. We don't have to say, wah, you know, I didn't get what I wanted. We're saying, I'm going to move forward into the step and do what I can do while being gentle with ourselves. Kuji Jagulia. Kuji Jagulia. Now this is a wonderful one, and I think Reverend Dottie's church absolutely embodies this.
Good.
Ujima.
Ujima.
Say again. Ujima. Ujima. Collective work and responsibility.
Responsibility.
To build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems. Our brothers and sisters' problems are our problems. And to solve them together. This is huge, my friends, to solve them together. None of us have to do it in isolation. Solve it together. So let's say, our brothers and sisters,
Our brothers and sisters.
problems and pain,
Problems and pain.
are my problems and pain.
Are my problems and pain.
We will unite
We will unite.
and we will work together
And we will work together
to solve them.
to solve them.
Yes.
That'd be nice.
Ujima.
Ujima.
Yes, yes. Ujama'a.
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 Cooperative economics. This is what our President Obama has been trying to get to us. For the past 8 years, President Obama has been dealing with, I can't say it any differently, a living hell. And you know what? I mean, no matter what he's been able to do or not been able to do, his spirit is to bring cooperative economics, to bring us up so that no one is left behind, no one is left out of the process. So, to build and maintain our own stores and others' businesses and to profit from them together. Okay, so this is huge. This means in the economic world, in the work world, we're going to raise everybody's standards of living so that we're all on a level playing field, and we're going to do it together. Now, what's happened is it's been hard, hasn't it? When we take these to the world, this is very hard. I mean, it's a very difficult thing. But if we can hold this principle in our heart every time we go to a small, business, anytime we go to a business that does their own, making of their business, that they bring organic food to us. Anytime we make the choice to pay a little more money for that, what are we doing? Ujama'a.
Ujama'a.
There we go. Cooperative economics.
Cooperative economics.
So for me, it's about raising my awareness about where I'm putting my resources, both monetarily and others.
Energy.
Nia.
Nia.
And let that sink in, my friends. Nia.
Nia.
That is purpose. This is about you, my friends. Your purpose. To make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Now, what this means is that we restore who? Who are the people?
Us.
All of us. So that means restoring us to our original, traditional greatness. So it's going back to our origins. This is calling upon our ancestors to help us out and reaching Nia. So as you spend time with yourself this holiday season, this winter quiet time, let us do Nia. What is our purpose? How do we do that purpose? How do we integrate it into our life? So restoring our people. Restoring our people. Nia.
Nia.
Kuumba.
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 No.
Kuumba.
Surprise.
Surprise. Creativity.
Yeah.
And this is creativity in everything we do. Like, I tried to get my cat in this morning. So I said,
Not well.
Mystic, you're going to have to stay out until I get home this afternoon. So creatively, I put a little shield of protection and warmth around her as I drove away in my car because I was running a little late. So that's creativity. To do always as much as we can in the way that we can. This goes back to our individual gifts again. In order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we have inherited it. So this is the Native American tradition of unto the 10th generation, where we talk about 7 generations or 10 generations. How are we doing today going to impact? How is that going to impact those 7 generations, those 10 generations? And the Japanese culture does everything. When I went to Japan, everything they do in beauty. Everything. From making a little bento box, to putting, toilet paper on a roll. I mean, everything they do is done with beauty. And we can learn a lot from that. That lets that creative spark in us fly. So don't be afraid of your creativity, my friends. Let it be expressed. Ah.
Kumba.
Kuumba.
Kumba. Kumba.
Now, let us sink even deeper into our heart. Imani. Imani. This is our connection to spirit, my friends, our connection to the infinite, our faith. Now, our faith is to believe with all of our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. So that means believing every time we advocate for mental health rights, every time we advocate for people living with HIV and AIDS, every time we advocate for a cause, we are calling upon our ancestors. We do not do it alone. So we honor our teachers, our wisdom keepers, and we also honor our internal teachers, our internal wisdom keepers. So the faith to honor our connection to spirit. So let us say Imani. Imani. Breathe that in. Imani. And as you breathe in that faith, know that you are not alone. You are not alone. And that we can connect with all of those internal and external resources to bring the truth of our struggle, which is all about love. So a dear friend of mine, I'm her godmother. I'm the godmother to her daughter, and her daughter's name is Imani. And, we talked a lot about it when she was a little girl, and she goes, that means I'm connected to spirit. And she just goes around, she goes, I'm connected to God. And so people say, why? My name's Imani. Faith. Faith is how you get to God. And I thought that was brilliant.
Out of the mouth of babes.
Out of the mouth of babes. So, okay. Thank you. I was going to jump right on it. So, my friends, it's with great pleasure that I bring you our Reverend Ronnie Grigsby.
Hey, Ronnie! Yay!
My niece was at a she was in a speech class, and they had to do a talk on things that was papers that was handed to them. And the instructor handed her this piece of paper, and it said faith on it. And she says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And sat down.
Nice. Again.
Now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. If you want to know where that came from, you will look in your Bible, the book of Hebrews, the 11th chapter, and the first verse. It doesn't, but the weird thing is that it doesn't say faith is the substance of things hoped for. It says now faith is the substance of things hoped for. If you believe that now, it can happen now. I thought that was very, very strange, but very appropriate.
Profound.
Very profound. I was in a supermarket one time, and just day-bopping around the supermarket, and I'm standing in line, and there's a long line behind me and a long line in front of me, and I'm just like everybody else, wanting to kick something, throw something, tip something over, because, I'm a human being, and I had other things to do other than stand in the supermarket. Me with my unintelligent self. And I started looking around me. And there was a baby over here. And another baby over here. And they were with their mothers who were shopping. One of the babies acknowledged the other baby. And it made a noise to the other baby, and the other baby laughed. And the other baby started making noises back at it, and they both laughed. I don't know what they were talking about. It's none of my business. It didn't matter whether that baby was black. It didn't matter whether that baby was white. It didn't matter whether that baby was Jewish. It didn't matter whether that baby was Baptist. It didn't matter whether that baby followed Muhammad. It didn't matter whether that baby followed Buddha. It didn't matter whether that baby lived on the east side, the west side, the north side, or the south side.
Yes.
That was a baby.
Yes.
And it was a human being. And they could both talk to each other. How dare we lose that when we grow up? How dare I don't talk to you because you don't look like me? And how dare you tell me that I'm wrong for being who I am?
That's right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
In
sir.
the beginning, when the Creator and I'm going to talk about this, and the Creator's staff created human beings. I say the Creator's staff because when I read the Bible says, and then God said, let us make man.
Oh, yeah.
The Bible also says this, that nothing is new under the sun. You know what that means? That means everything was meant to be here. Women, you were meant to be here as much as I was meant to be here. Caucasian people, you were meant to be here as much as I was meant to be here. People from Latin America were here before we were here.
That's right.
This was Latin America.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hello.
Before we came over here, before we came across the country and messed it up.
Mr. Ronnie, may I just add that we are supposed to be a bilingual state, where all of us in this state are supposed to speak Spanish, Espanol, and English. Yep.
I was in the service station this morning, and a Sikh man was running the service station. And he was in his normal dress, which means he had a turban on. I was in a hurry, so I didn't get a chance to speak to him. But I wanted to go up to him and thank him for being who he is.
Yes.
You see, I am who I am, and it took me almost 30 years of my life to figure out that I was supposed to be who I am. I sing because I'm supposed to sing.
Yes.
Janet plays guitar because she's supposed to play guitar. Dottie's a psychic reader because that's who she's supposed to be. What Kwanzaa is all about. And if you look if you look at the Jewish holiday that just passed, what that is all about is recognizing who you are and building up on who you are and standing up for who you are. And when in the African American community, we were taught not to slouch when we stand. The reason we were taught not to slouch when we stood, and you'll see some of us that don't smile very much, the reason for that is because we have been taken lightly for so long on this planet and in this country. What had Barack Obama taught us in the almost 8 years that he's been president of the United States is that a president is not a racial thing. A president is a job. Not only is it a job, but if you follow spirit, you do the right thing.
That's right.
All things are possible. You can kick over the apple cart, which President Obama's been doing, and stand in your truth. Because that's what we're sent here to do. Kwanzaa teaches us to stand in our truth. Kwanzaa teaches us to support each other. Kwanzaa teaches us to be who we are and be proud of who we are. When you see me and I sing those old songs, I sing those old songs because if I don't sing them, somebody may forget them.
Yes.
Yeah. Woo.
I sing them to you because maybe you ain't heard them.
Right.
Amen.
And if you heard me sing something like, I I know I've been changed. The angels in heaven done signed my name. You know who taught me that? My grandmother taught me that. You know who taught my grandmother that? Her grandmother taught her that. And she stood in her truth. I kicked off my shoes because I'm standing in my truth.
Yes.
And you can stand in your truth.
Right.
Not only can you stand in your truth, but every place you stand can be what? Hope. Moses, biblically, was called into a mountaintop. And while he was on the mountaintop, he was told to kick his sandals off. Just like I just kicked my shoes off. I'm not crazy. He was told to kick his shoes off. And he asked, well, why am I supposed to kick my shoes off? And the Spirit told him, because the ground you stand on is holy. In the Japanese family, you don't go in the house with your shoes on.
No.
In a lot of family, in a lot of origins, you kick your shoes off when you come in the house. Number one is that's respect for the house. And number two is that house is a sacred place. You are in a sacred place no matter where you stand, no matter who you are, and no matter what you're doing. You see, because I may not be able to make statues, but I have a friend over here named Mary that can.
Yes.
Because you can.
Yes, Coach.
I may not be able to play guitar, but I have a friend over here named Janet who can.
Oh yes, hallelujah.
I can't lay nobody on a bed and crack their bones, but I've got a doctor up here who can.
Living proof.
This is all collective. This is things that we do collective. This is things that we do together. And I know that when my back hurts, I could call Dr. Ayleen and say, Dr. Ayleen, my back hurts. And she'd say, okay, well, you come in at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and she'll lay me down on a bed and start cracking things and fixing things that I didn't know were broken. But when I leave there, I'm a better man. When you come into this place, if you come into this place spiritually broken, you can be healed here. This is what this place is for. You see, a long time I quit calling this Donnie's church because it became my church.
Yes.
It became a place where I can come in here spiritually broken. It became a place where I can come in here crying, and I have. I can come in here with a broken heart, and I know that people could put their arms around me and love me. And this is what Kwanzaa is about. It's about togetherness. It's about building things together. It's about helping each other as you help yourself. It's about making life better for you and somebody else. I don't know who, when I sing, I don't know who my songs are touching. And it doesn't matter, Margaret, who our songs touch. But you know what? Sometimes when Margaret's singing, I'll go home and I'll say, wow, that song said this.
Yes.
And it may have said it in a way that I may sit there and laugh, but then I go home and I say, wow, Margaret said this in this song. And this was so true. Because Margaret's a songwriter. I'm not a songwriter, but what I can do is I can sing a song that Margaret may have written and bring it across in a way that Margaret may not be able to bring it across. Because that's what I do. One thing that we have to learn in an establishment like this and in an establishment like the world is to honor and respect each other's talents. And to be there when we need each other. And to love our babies when we see our babies. And hug our babies when we need to. My mother's 92 years old. I saw her Christmas Day and I hugged her. Why? Because these are the things that we need to do for each other. Let's not forget that we are not physical beings. We're all spiritual beings. And it's the most wrong thing that you can do in life is cut off your spirit to each other. Babies don't do it in the supermarkets. Dogs even play with each other. Cats, not so much. But dogs even play with each other. How dare we not respect where each other stands? This is what Kwanzaa is about, respect for each other. Putting each other in our own perspective. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Woo! Yeah, you gotta put your shoes on.
You see one race before you. You see diversity within it, but each of us is one race. We are children of slavery. We are children of freedom. We are children of the brightest light, and we are also children of the darkest shadow. Because all of those aspects made us into what we are. There have been some things that historically have happened that, are just enough to break your heart and break your spirit. But it is in that hottest fire that the strongest steel is forged. And it takes a lot of pressure to make a diamond.
Amen.
We survive as a species because we deep down know that we are greater than the sum of our parts. We honor those who came before, we honor those who come after, in whatever way. When I went to Sundance, there were dancers who were of every race, of every belief. There was one dancer who was from Vietnam and who had been in the Vietnam War. And then there was another Sun dancer who was a white man who had also been in the Vietnam War. And the two of them came together in that sacred space and forgave one another. And they embraced and they apologized for what each of their people had done to the other. And in that space they found balance. This space is a space of Kwanzaa, but it's also a space of all the other beliefs. Each one is amazing. Each of us is amazing. And as I said, we are all greater than the sum of our parts. Now, we need to find who is the oldest person in the room.
Yes.
Oh, no volunteers. What? Come on. Okay, Dottie, you are 75. Is there anyone?
No.
Or how old are you?
77.
70.
77.
Oh,
77. 77, okay. Is there anyone here who is older than 77? Norma.
What?
All right.
Robert?
Robert.
Widow,
How old
How old
are
are
you?
you, Robert?
85.
85.
85.
Do we hear a beat? 85.
85. Okay. Robert, please come forward.
Oh my.
We're not going to embarrass you, Robert.
Ronnie, could you hold this, please? In Kwanzaa, a part of the ceremony, near the end of the ceremony, the oldest person there comes forward and offers a libation. So this is called the unity cup. And the unity cup is something that each family has one. And it represents their family, it represents their community. What goes into it, the water that nourishes the plant, which symbolizes our connection to earth and life. And that the unity cup is and should be offered, the libation should be offered by the eldest, because it is the eldest who have led the way. They are the one who planted the plant. They are the ones who have nourished it, and they are the ones who teach us. So, Robert, if you could take this and pour a little bit right into this plant.
For our ancestors, we pour the water of life.
For our ancestors, we pour the water of life. For our ancestors, we pour the water of life. For our ancestors, we pour the water of life.
And this is a symbol of the continuation of the people, of the community, of the family, always led by our elders and with our young, bringing forth not only their own dreams, but carrying the dreams of the forefathers with them. Because it is through that we always remember who we are. We don't have to forget who we are to become who we're meant to be. Thank you.
This is quite an
Yay.
honor. I never thought I ever
Would be a bonus.
will count for anything.
Well,
This is quite an honor. Thank
it
you.
does. And thank you
Thank
for
you.
your service, and thank you for what you've taught.
Thank you.
So, Kwanzaa is closed, and Jan is going to lead us in a chant that we will say this word 7 times. And it is said once everything is done, it closes and it binds the gathering.
And it is Harambe. Harambe. So let us do it 7 times. Harambe. 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 Harambe.
And that is one for each of the 7 principles. Thank you.